Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Choda with Ignition Time. I'm out in my patio, I'm outdoors again. I was actually indoors for the past few days because it was raining outside. I'm outdoors with the birds. I don't know if you can hear them. Thank you so much for being a viewer. Thank you so much for being a subscriber, and welcome to my channel. If you don't know anything about me, please check out my video. You'll learn more about who I am, what my journey has been like, and why you should listen to me. Also, if you learn something new from this video, please consider clicking the like button below. Please also subscribe and enable the notifications button. I want you to ignite that subscribe button and ignite that notification button. Remember, the name of our channel is Ignition Time. Now, in this video, I'll talk to you about the latest comments from the US Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin. I'll tell you what, that guy has probably what is the toughest job in the world right now. He's stuck between President Trump on one side and House Speaker Pelosi on the other side. It's literally a no-win situation for him because, he's in a very tough position. But this is what he said in an interview last night with Lou Dobbs on Fox, and he was also interviewed this morning on CNBC. I watched that interview very closely. He essentially said the same things in the interview this morning on CNBC, but he did reveal something new when it came to testing, tracing, and treatment. So I'll get into all of that in this video. In this video, I'll talk to you about where the negotiations stand right now. They are not over yet. And in fact, US Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin was specifically asked if the negotiations are over, if the chance of a stimulus deal before the election is dead. And he said, it's not dead, it's difficult and unlikely, but he said it's not dead. Anything is possible in this environment, but let's dig deep right now into US Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin's comments. Let's start with an interview that he did last night on Fox with Lou Dobbs. And in that interview, US Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin said that the preference of the administration would be to use the $300 billion of unspent money from the first CARES Act. And he said that $130 billion can be used towards the Paycheck Protection Program with congressional approval. Remember, all my viewers and subscribers who say, oh, why can't there be an executive order? It doesn't work that way. There needs to be congressional approval. There needs to be permission to reallocate that money towards the Paycheck Protection Program or even stimulus checks, whatever the need might be. So, US Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin did talk about a second round of Paycheck Protection Program money to small businesses because remember, more than 60% of the engine of the economic activity in America is attributed to small businesses. He said that we need to help airlines with payroll support. And he said that airlines need to be able to hire their people back. And we shouldn't take an all-or-nothing approach, an all-or-none approach, which is what House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is adopting. And he said the all-or-none approach does not work for the American people. And he did say that politics is getting in the way and the president and I are working on a more comprehensive deal. Let's roll the tape and look at US Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin last night saying that essentially we need authority to allocate $300 billion in unspent money from the CARES Act. And he said that they wanted to allocate money for airlines, for kids, for the Paycheck Protection Program. And he also mentioned stimulus checks. Let's roll the tape and see what he said on Lou Dobbs last night.
Our first guest tonight is Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin, and today he talked with the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, trying to move forward some kind of deal to get 160 million Americans relief from the COVID virus pandemic. It didn't go well. Great to have you with us, Mr. Secretary. How would you characterize what seems to be an impasse?
Well, first of all, it's great to be with you. The president and my first priority would be there's about $300 billion that was approved in the last CARES package that we haven't spent. We need authority to spend that money. So our choice would be to immediately use that money for small business, for more PPP money, second payments, use it for airline workers, use it for kids, and to support jobs. So we could get that money into the economy quickly. The president would also like to send direct payments to hardworking Americans quickly. There's a lot of areas in here that we would have enormous bipartisan support if they could be passed on a standalone basis. The Speaker and Senator Schumer have insisted on an all-or-nothing approach, so we've been trying to negotiate in good faith a comprehensive package that would include a lot of things, would include money for testing, vaccines, kids, jobs, health care. Certain areas we've made a lot of progress on, certain areas we still have more work to do.
Now, the one thing I've noticed with US Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin is that he takes a very calm and a rational and a very balanced approach. And it's very rare to hear him pointing fingers at the other side. It's very rare to have him point fingers at the Democrats, specifically at House Speaker Pelosi. When he was specifically asked, is there a political motive? Is there a political reason for all of this stimulus money being held up? Remember, we're talking about $1.8 trillion. This is what he said. He said that the Democrats do not want to give the president a win. And he said that they're holding up relief for hardworking Americans. Strong words indeed. So that is what the US Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin said, essentially implying that politics is at play. Politics is getting in the way of a deal being struck for the American people. And remember, we're, less than 3 weeks from an election right now, from probably the most consequential election in many decades. Let's hear exactly what Mnuchin had to say. Let's roll the tape.
Lou, I don't think there's a good answer for that. I suspect that they don't want to give the president a win 3 weeks before the election, but they are holding up relief to hardworking Americans. Mitch McConnell wants to bring the PPP back to the floor. Again, this is areas we have money. We don't need to appropriate more money. There's $130 billion sitting in the PPP. We just need congressional approval to send out second checks. I have over $200 billion of money that was allocated for the Federal Reserve facilities with the Treasury. I'm not going to need that. I'm reallocating that. And we have national security money and cargo money that we want to allocate to the airlines. And again, these are areas of the economy, no fault of their own. They've been shut down by the China COVID virus.
Now we'll jump to a CNBC interview that US Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin did this morning. Now keep in mind, he repeated most of the same talking points that he had on the Fox News interview last night. But the one thing that he said that really jumped out at me was the concession, if you will, from the administration on testing and tracing. And because, it seems like that's a big deal for the Democrats. And the administration, based on what Mnuchin said, is coming closer and closer to what the Democrats want. Here's what Mnuchin said in this part of the CNBC interview, and I'll actually play the segment for you. He said, we have agreed to $178 billion overall for health. It's an extraordinary amount of money, and we don't need to spend all of that money. We also agreed to $28 billion for vaccine and distribution. We have been focused on the language around testing. We have proposed a bipartisan bill. Keep in mind that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has been pushing for the right kind of language in the bill. And he said, and I quote US Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin, I'm quoting the White House because he's a White House negotiator. We are not going to let the testing issue stand in the way. We are not going to let the testing issue stand in the way. This issue is getting overblown. We need to get money to the American people, those who are getting hurt the most. Now, before I show you the segment, I want to show you a tweet on your screen from Jake Sherman, who responded to this. Jake Sherman from Politico, who said that he's now hearing that this is not the case, according to people involved in the talks, after that interview aired. So I'll report to you if something is changing there. But I can tell you that if this is changing, then it's definitely going to throw a wrinkle into the talks. But if the administration is indeed giving the Democrats what they want, we could be getting closer to a stimulus bill. Here's another tweet on your screen from Quint Fogley, who quotes US Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin. He said, when I speak to Pelosi today, and this is today, the conversation that's about to happen, I'm going to tell her that we are not going to let the testing issue stand in the way, that we'll fundamentally agree with their testing language subject to minor issues. This issue is being overblown. Quite significant comments from US Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin. And here's a tweet on your screen from Jeff Stein from the Washington Post. Jeff said, last night, heard White House was preparing to make big concession on testing, one of Pelosi's top objections. And again, he quoted what US Secretary Steven Mnuchin said. So this is quite significant. Also, there was a new tweet that you'll see on your screen from Jake Sherman over at Politico. To be clear, there isn't even an agreement at the moment as to whether US Secretary Steven Mnuchin and the Republicans have accepted the testing language from the Democrats. So keep in mind that we need to get the Republican senators on board, and that's not clear at the moment. But US Secretary Steven Mnuchin did say that whatever he does on the CNBC interview, whatever he does in close consultation with the Republicans, with obviously the president, and with White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, who is essentially the representative of the Republican establishment. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do get some encouraging news, but it's we'll wait and see what happens. But let's roll the tape and see exactly what U.S. Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin said about the testing, and he said we are not going to let the testing issue stand in the way. Let's roll the tape and watch this very, very important segment, which could mean that the stimulus negotiations are coming to hopefully some sort of an amicable agreement. Let's roll the tape.
One of the comments that we've heard from the speaker or issues on the table that seems to be a problem, or at least a challenge on both sides, is that over national testing strategy. Can you speak to what's happening here? It sounds to me like the Democrats are asking for $75 billion. Republicans are asking for $45 billion. But I think there's more to this.
No, that issue is getting overblown. We've agreed to $178 billion overall for health. It's an extraordinary amount of money. We'd agreed with the Democrats with $75 billion going to testing, contact tracing. I think, quite frankly, we won't need to spend all that money, but we're happy to take the money. We've also agreed to $28 billion for vaccines and distribution, which is very important to continue our Project Warp Speed. What we have been focused on is the language around testing. We had proposed a bipartisan bill that has support both in the Senate and in the House to go forward with testing. But quite frankly, when I speak to Pelosi today, I'm going to tell her that we're not going to let the testing issue stand in the way, that we'll fundamentally agree with their testing language subject to some minor issues. This issue is being overblown. We need to get money to the American public now, the people that are most hurting.
Mr. Secretary, I also wanted to ask you, I just wanted to come back to this testing question. I know you're saying that it's not a deal breaker. Would the administration be willing to support a standalone national testing strategy bill in the same way that you would for the airlines, for example, or some of the other issues?
I think we'd combine that with a PPP deal and an airlines deal. So, again, we wouldn't move forward with testing without getting money for small business. I think, that's virtually half of the private payroll, and these small businesses, no fault of their own. And by the way, let me just say, we have a national testing strategy at the moment. The national testing strategy, and Mark Meadows has been enormously involved in this, working throughout the administration. I think, we have over 150 million of the Binax Now tests that we have at $5 a test, incredibly economic. We are distributing those to nursing homes and schools. We're getting those out. We signed another major contract with a company that has a 98% rating from the Mayo Clinic that will be, again, tests that can be done within 20 minutes. So we'll be using those in conjunction with Binax Now. So we have a testing strategy. This comment that we're not doing testing, I think, is ridiculous. Also, the administration moved forward with an extraordinary Project Warp Speed on vaccines. We've funded manufacturing of 7 different vaccines. So we still have money left for testing. We still have money for vaccines. We'd like more. But the president has executed through us, dramatic spending on vaccines and testing. And by the way, 60 days ago, the technology was not there for a $5 rapid test.
Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I hope you learned something new. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. If you don't know anything about me, please check out my video. You'll learn more about who I am, what my journey has been like, and why you should listen to me. Remember, we release videos at 2 p.m. East Coast time most days of the week. That's 2 p.m. East Coast time. You can get your cell phone out, send a text message with the word ignition or with the word time to 70,000, that's 70000, and then you'll get added to SMS alerts list. Now, if you want, you can also get on our email list. Simply go to ignitiontime.com/alerts. That's ignitiontime.com/alerts, and you'll get added to our email list going forward. Sometimes YouTube does not send out email notifications or notifications through the app. So what you can do is simply bookmark youtube.com/ignition time. That's youtube.com/ignition time. And then that way you're not dependent on notifications, and you can check out the homepage of our channel for all our latest videos. You're never going to miss a single video, and you can watch it at your convenience. Now, you can also follow us on Instagram. Simply go to ignition_time on Instagram. Find us on Instagram at ignition_time. That's our handle. And you can get exclusive content on Instagram. You can also follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter handle is also ignition_time. That's ignition_time. You'll get breaking news and alerts from us on Twitter. So we look forward to growing with you on Twitter. Also, please click like on our video if you learned something new. Please ignite the subscribe button. Remember, the name of our channel is Ignition Time, and also enable notifications so you get instant updates from us going forward. Remember, once again, we release videos at 2 p.m. East Coast time most days of the week. All the links to our sources, to our news sources, are always found in the description section below. If you learned something new from this video, please consider clicking like, please subscribe, please enable notifications, and also please comment below and participate with us and engage with us in our growing community. We find that our community, which is growing, which is respectful, which consists of highly astute, highly intelligent individuals, is a very valuable part of what we have to offer as our channel. And oftentimes, I think you'll get valuable insight from our community, oftentimes more so than what you get in the videos, because I think the collective insight of the community is significantly greater than what I can offer you. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.